We built this, boo. For real, me and you. I wish I did it back then, but you know, I just wanted you back. I just wanted to hit back then. I ain't gonna hold you. I seen you. I ain't gonna hold you. You walked on the boat 2009. I saw you, little dark skin thing. I'm like, yo, who was that? You know? But you know what? I usually crack a Tracy smile and they come running. You, it took time.
As it should.
It took real time.
So listen, I checked the demographics. I checked my audience, and sometimes I get comments, like really disrespectful comments, like the one you see here on the screen from this ejaculation station that you see right here. And in some cases, I get women who are capable of just having a respectful disagreement, and we just do that. And that's rare. But in some cases, I actually get women who agree with me. So if you don't get the dynamics, this video is for some of y'all. You know, as far as guys, I don't see you getting much insight from this because these are things that you're more than likely going to understand as a man. But right now, I'm just explaining how the game goes. So before we get into it, please put a like on the vid. Now, what you have here is a guy who pretty much said during his wedding vows in front of her family that he just wanted to hit it. Now, this is crass. This is very inappropriate. And that's what most of the comments on the original clip reflected. But when you look at it, this is what it is. This is what it is. I found it interesting, and I didn't even plan on making a video today. This is not something I seeked out. It found me. So the understanding that I want you to have here, we'll just get started with this. As far as this guy, you could tell to some degree, more than likely, he was a player, or even if you just throw player out, he's a guy who more than likely had a lot of sexual options. Certain times you can just sense it. And even then he said, oh yeah, you know, the smiling, whatever. I'm going to be honest with you. That's not something that's really special. This is like for a guy to have a bunch of bodies. That's not something that's like, oh my goodness, it's so rare and it's so special. Like, no. So there are a lot of guys like that. There are guys that you wouldn't even think that are like that, who have a lot of bodies and stuff like that. So he's one of those. We'll just pretend that he's one of those. That's just what I sense. And even with him saying, you know, they used to like, that's what I sense from him. So he is a guy who pretty much had his way with women to some degree. Now, when you look at this guy, what was his motivation as far as him getting at women? He was not looking for a relationship. He was not looking for a relationship. And most guys are not, guys who have options, they are not looking for relationships in most cases. They are looking to hit something. They are looking to have situationships, maybe like as far as a consistent chick that they smashing, or they're trying to just run through a bunch of chicks, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to an individual woman, the primary motive is to hit first. That's what it is. We want to hit. That's just what it is. When we go out on these dates, when we approach you, when we get in your inbox, at the end of the day, it's how we are built. There is a physical attraction that we have. We are attracted through our eyes. And through our eyes, what we are going to see is your beauty and your body, and that is going to compel us to want to get at you. We have no idea who you are. We don't know anything about you. And we do want to get to know you, as far as some of us. We do want to get to know you because regardless how fine you are, we have to figure out what type of woman you are and what box to put you in, honestly. So that's just how that goes. So with that, that was his primary motive. Once he tried to hit and there was resistance and it didn't go his way for whatever reason, but the vibe was there, everything else was good, he just couldn't do it for whatever reason, she was resistant. He saw some value in her for whatever reason. I don't know if it was the chemistry. And this is the thing, because he mentions that it took a long time instead of like, you know, him getting it quick like he usually does. I say two things about that. Number one, because I've seen this in action. It's never happened to me, but I've seen it in action as far as like I have a friend who he did set out to hit a chick. And when she wasn't on it, because everything else was good, they was going on dates. It's probably the second date. And she just wasn't on it. She was just resistant. For this guy who also got a lot of women, that was something he wasn't used to. So I'm pretty sure what it was, it made him want to chase to some degree, which is why I said it hasn't happened to me, because I personally don't chase. That's one thing I don't do. I don't have any desire to chase. But as far as these types of guys, that meant, it's a challenge, or and the vibe is there as far as, how they relate to each other, the conversations that they have, the chemistry they have. So with those things being present, those two things, the chemistry and the resistance, that made him more intrigued. And from having conversations with him in real time, that made him reclassify her. So that's one of the first things. I'll revisit that a little bit later, maybe. But that's what happened with him. And we're talking about, again, guys with options and stuff like that. So the missing pieces as far as this situation that we see right here, because that's cool. That's cool that she made him wait. That's cool, XYZ. She didn't give it up, as quickly as the other women. That's all cool. But the missing pieces is what value she brought to his life, and what else was being done and why else he loves her. Those are missing pieces. So we're just talking about this front end aspect as far as everything that's going on, because I said I was going to revisit the other situation that I actually had a friend that experienced this in real life. Like, his situation worked out bad because that woman, she wasn't like a wild hoe or anything like that. So she wasn't. But the issue was, she was a damaged woman psychologically. So without going into too much detail, she basically self-sabotaged the situation. We'll just leave it there. So that didn't lead to a marriage or a good relationship. And she wasn't a wild, promiscuous whore at any time in her history, because I live in a place where you could find that stuff out. She just wasn't that. So this is the issue that I'm going to correlate this to, When we talk about body count, things of that nature, a lot of women get upset. And you see the woman whose comment I put on the screen, she compared body count to money because she's an idiot, right? When you look at body count, we're never going to know the actual number, right? We're never going to know the actual number. But there are two things that I'm going to discuss very quickly. The first thing is, if you have a high body count, you have certain habits. That's just what it is. You have certain habits. So there are going to be certain things that you do without a man even having to have sex with you that is going to show him that you have a high body count or that you are a highly promiscuous woman. Things of that nature. I love it when chicks say, like the one chick in one of my biggest videos says, I could go down and wear fishnets and shake my butt all down the strip and nobody can get me and stuff like that. But then she got exposed by somebody else for having a relationship with a married man. Just because I can't get you doesn't mean you haven't been got. It doesn't mean you haven't been got. That doesn't mean that you are a good woman. That doesn't mean that you are not a whore. That doesn't mean, and the whole conversation was, you don't know how many bodies I have. That was the whole thing. So again, there are going to be certain habits and certain things that you do that is going to show that. And this is the funny thing about it. I could tell personal stories. Chicks really try to hide it. They really try their best to hide it in some situations, but it comes out. It comes out. Trust me, it comes out. If you just, all you have to do, and this is real, I don't care if you smashing a chick or not. I don't care if you go in a Christian way and you like, I'm not having sex to marriage. All you have to do is really just put in time with a chick. The dark is going to come to the light eventually. That's just what it is. If you know the signs and you know what it looked like, you're eventually going to see it no matter how good she acts, which brings me to my second point. The issue with the chicks who have high body count and they hear this type of stuff and they think, Well, all I have to do is resist a guy. What you are is a chameleon. You're a chameleon. And the thing is, no, we cannot ever figure out the actual number of bodies that you have, but it is possible to figure out if you were that type of woman. And this is the thing. If you have that type of past, again, it doesn't just create habits. It also creates a psychology within you, so that can be something that also damages your experiences with men in general. We could do the whole pair bonding stuff, but I'm not about to go that deep. And even then, that's not really a point that you're going to hear me harp on this channel. That's just me being real, because you don't have to go that deep. You don't have to go that deep. But this is what happens, right? As far as women who have high body counts and they hear something like this and they're like, oh, all I got to do is hold it back and wait and wait, wait. So this is the one thing. When you have an easily accessible Hofax, guys hate when they know what's going on with you, how you were, how you've been, your history to some degree. They might even just know 2 guys that you smashed, just 2. And those guys, of course, they have stories. Now, when it comes to this third guy, and listen, you got way more bodies than 2 guys. You got way more bodies. When you get to this third guy, you in a whole different place in your life. And now you trying to make him wait, and you tell him you're not having sex till marriage or what. Like, with anybody that knows your past, it's going to be extremely hard for you. That's period, point blank. And that's the thing. You're not even going to know that he knows. And that's just real. One of the things that you'll see that's a popular narrative on the internet, and I know it's amongst black people. I don't know if white people got this going on, but I seen somebody actually posted today on my personal social media. He said, I hate when a chick is a hoe with everybody else, but want to be a good girl when it come to me. Like, what is that? Guys absolutely hate that. So you have that when your history is just out there enough to where guys actually know it. I already discussed how guys can pick up on certain things and pick up on certain signals and stuff. And I'll just say this, if a guy actually gets with you and begins to take you serious and begins to notice certain things, he is going to begin to resent you as far as some people, because it's like, oh man, this is who I actually am investing time into. This is crazy. This is crazy, especially if your past begins to come out in any type of way. I'm going to give you a childish example. This is a childish example. And the reason I say it's childish is because I remember this happening, somewhere in when these people were in their early 20s. I'm talking about like 20 years old, not 23, like 20 years old. A guy has a girlfriend. He's getting sucked up, probably for the first time. And he is like, yo, you do this way too good. What's going on? Like, how did you learn this? She say how she learned it or whatever. You're like, wait a minute. Yo, ex, was you doing this to your ex? She said, yeah. Oh, dude was heartbroken. He was distraught. He dumped her. Again, childish. Because I know I say a lot of stuff on this channel and we really be talking about a lot of stuff. And you might think I'm just, so against women. Not really. Not in reality, no. If at this point, in reality, 2 things. If you get with a woman, you got to expect her to have some type of experience. Just period, point blank. You're not getting a pure woman in 2024 and beyond. Just forget about it. Even if you go over there and get your passport bro shit on, they just got different culture over there. That don't mean that these women is not having sex. I'm not even getting into a second point, but I just wanted to say that to illustrate somewhat of the nature of man, because when it comes down to it, like, we don't want to know that somebody else had the best of our girl. That's it. So we'll just keep that there. But let's get to the last point as far as the chameleons. So boom, you have these issues, right? You have a reputation in the area that you come from, right? And even then, you still have these habits that you have to work on, that you finally figured out that you have. And even then, it's still not doing you any good trying to switch it up in the area that you came from. This is when you start seeing chicks saying, ooh, I hate this city. This city's, oh, I can't date nobody here. All this stuff. Oh, the guys in Port Arthur or wherever you're from are so horrible. They're so trash. All that stuff. When you start seeing all that stuff, this is a washed woman, just period, point blank. This is when we talk about something that I coined, which is the whole reset. Once chicks figure this out, once chicks figure out that they are washed, they're through, but they also figure out, if I could start all over again, this is how I would do it. And even when it comes to how I conduct myself with a man, this is how I should do it. Once they figure that out, the past is too much. It catches up with them all the time, and it's just hard for them to fight. So what do? They move miles and miles and miles away from where they're from. So just to give a short example, these are typically going to be chicks in smaller cities, because if you're in a major city, you could just still be in the same city and get to another area of the city where they don't know what's going on with you or anything like that. But if you live in a smaller city or someplace that's not one of these major cities, let's just say you live in, how about this, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Boom. That's not a tremendous city or nothing like that. So Grand Rapids, right? Detroit is a soft hole reset because Detroit is still in Michigan and it's close enough for people to travel to, right? It's not too far away. So there might be people from Grand Rapids who know your past, but it's pretty unlikely. When you do the hard hole reset, again, we're going to pretend you're in Grand Rapids. You're going to move all the way, and these are the typical places chicks go. You're going to move to NYC. You're going to move to like Miami, Florida, possibly Orlando, but really Miami is the typical place. You're going to move to Houston. You're going to move to Atlanta. If it's really bad, if it's really, really, really bad, you're going to move all the way to LA. Now, this doesn't mean that every chick that moves from a smaller city to these places has this going on, because at the end of the day, most people want to be in a bigger city. But when it comes down to it, that's what they do. And what you can do when you get out there, you have a fresh, clean slate. You done did a good chunk of your hoeing and stuff like that. You know how to change it. Now you were on a mission to find the right guy and a good sucker, or whatever you want to call it. So it's more easy to do that in a place where nobody knows anything about you. You got a clean slate, you know how to act and all of that stuff. And that's just what chicks do. So if you are in a major city, or even if you're in the city you're in and you're dealing with a transplant from somewhere else, that is something where you have to be careful. That's just it. As a guy, you have to be careful. And that's the only points that I really have. So if we go all the way and reverse it back, all the way to the top, as far as, this video and stuff like that. If she wasn't different, if she wasn't actually different than the other chicks that he was having one night stands with in abundance, he would know. He would know that she is not marriage material. That's just what it is. Because he's been around and experienced enough of these chicks to know that. So with that, I'm not going to assume her body count or anything like that, but I can bet that she was different than somebody who had a lot of bodies that he's dealt with before. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts. I'm gone.